what we're going to go through today is really just a built-out framework for you guys to be healthy and excel at your health at every age. We got big things to accomplish in life. And so one of the things that just like hits my heart is that a lot of times in life we get busy with work, with distractions, and maybe we're successful in life, maybe we make a lot of money, but we oftentimes kind of lose sight of one of the most important things in our life, which is our health, okay? And it's widely been said that, you know, a healthy man or woman has 1,000 wishes and a sick person has one to get their health back, right? And so I commend you guys already. You guys are here. You guys are the drivers, the ones who want to take care of your health. But it's really tough in the society that we live in today to be healthy. And there's a lot of new studies that have come out that are going to help you guys with that. And so I'm just excited to go through and share this with you guys. I want you guys to leave here feeling inspired, feeling motivated, but also having some really, really easy to implement action steps to make sure that you get your health on track. So this isn't just like a take notes and rah-rah seminar. It's meant so that you leave with a great framework so that you can implement this into your life, okay? Don't feel overwhelmed at the end. We will have ways to work you guys through this. If you guys are patients of ours, you already know that like when you're here, if you have questions or need follow-ups, we'll absolutely help you with it. We have a whole challenge that we're doing after this as well. So we're gonna have a Facebook group for you guys, a place where you guys can get online, have access to us, so you can have encouragement through this, and ideally speaking, make these 30-day changes a real reality for long-term health and improvement, okay? So we ready to go? Awesome. So what is pure energy? So pure energy, the way we named this is pure is free of contamination. So we want to get you guys back to whole again. And energy is the strength and vitality required for sustained physical or mental activity. So we want you guys to have just this undying energy in you to be able to accomplish things you want in life. Whether you're a mom with kids, whether you're a dad with kids, whether you're a grandma and you've got grandchildren or you've got a purpose to serve in life, we want you guys to be able to do that. And I don't think I have to say a lot to tell you guys that in the world that we live in, we're not doing a great job when it comes to that. You guys agree? A little bit? So there was a big study that came out of the University of North Carolina, and it looked at metabolic health. And so there's been several of these studies that have come out over the last 5 or 6 years. Really, there's been a big push towards better understanding our metabolism. And so these research studies have been looking at, okay, well, if we want to function optimally, what should the benchmark be? And the results of these like 4 or 5 studies have been staggering, where they're looking at young adults, 18 to 25-year-olds, kids in college, young adults, young professionals, and what they're finding is that the vast, vast majority of people, it's almost hard for us to study people because the vast majority of people are not metabolically healthy. This is just one study that showed that 88% of us have some form of metabolic dysfunction. And again, this is not 80-year-olds in this study. This is 18 to 25-year-olds, right? So only 1 out of 8 of them are metabolically healthy even at that age. And so you think if it's hard to be healthy now for between 18 to 25, imagine how hard it is at 35, at 45, at 55 to stay metabolically healthy. There was another study that came out that showed that less than 1% of people of all ages are truly metabolically healthy. So as time goes on, we tend to lose it, and it's really hard in the world that we live in to gain it back. We've seen these problems worsening, and big concern is that we have more technology now than ever. We've got more available resources for healthcare, and the problem is that every time that they come out with like a U.S. News and World Report on the health in America, it seems to be unfortunately getting worse. This is a 2022 study from the Commonwealth Fund, and again, we ranked to the bottom in a lot of the major health statistics, despite the fact that we are far and away a first world country with a top-rate healthcare system and technology and all the resources to truly be healthy and thrive.
Well, it can't be top-rated.
Can't be what?
It can't be top-rated if it's not helping anybody.
I know, I agree. So, I mean, that's the thing, that's the problem, right? It's the whole conundrum we're in right now. The U.S. has the lowest life expectancy at birth, the highest death rates for avoidable or treatable conditions. We lead the world in something known as the people living with chronic health conditions. So people who are alive but sick, we lead the world in that, okay? It's a big issue. Lead in infant mortality and among the highest suicide rates. So just we have these chronic problems with chronic conditions and this obesity rate that's nearly twice the average. We're spending more, and this is the conundrum we're in, we're spending more than every other country on the planet. The closest country to us spends half of what we do, which is Switzerland, which has much better healthcare overall, and much better health outcomes overall. And so we're this outlier in that we spend more on health, and yet we lose our health faster than any other place in the world, okay? So we keep seeing these studies that that show that if we work on our health, if we do the right things, that we're healthier overall. Big study that showed, hey, sustained weight loss, obviously it reduces your breast cancer risk and cancer risk overall. We know that gaining weight, that not taking care of your metabolism is a huge risk factor for obesity-related cancers. We know that our lifestyle really affects it. So like sleeping with the TV on affects serotonin production, affects melatonin rates, and sleep problems can cause a lot of issues, right? And so I get excited sometimes. I don't read the news very often, but I get hopeful because I see these studies coming out and I'm like, all right, now people are going to start waking up and people are going to start, getting with the program and really working on getting their health on track, because it's not going to be the doctors, the hospitals that do it. It's going to be us. It's going to be individuals making a change, right? So I get all excited and then I'm usually let down because the next week someone will send me a story that's like, hey, here's our solution. We're going to start using more drugs and surgery for obesity in kids. So we're just going to drug them and surgery them earlier. That's what we're seeing now. And now they're talking about using the semaglutides and the GLP-1 peptides in children. And I think that they can have a lot of benefit. I think they can actually help people sometimes, but we're not actually fixing the cause of the problem is the big issue that's going on. We are bombarded by bad lifestyle choices after bad lifestyle choices, by horrible food choices, by temptation on every corner, by the FDA allowing food companies to manufacture horrible foods. I don't think we should ban things necessarily, but I think we should be made aware of the bad things that are going on within our food system. And our solution is turn to pharma, let's get more drugs in them. That's got to be the solution, right? Does that drive you guys crazy a little bit? So what we want to go through today is answering some of these burning questions that you guys have and that I've always had and that I always want to teach to you guys. So it's like, how do I actually make a lasting change in my health overall? How do I make these changes and these progresses? Number two, how do I actually assess my health? Like if I just have no symptoms, how do I know if I'm healthy or not? So we're going to talk about it all today, okay? So we're going to go through how do you actually assess your health and know if you're healthy or not, okay? I'm tired of having patients have heart attacks, right? Who think they're healthy. They're like, oh, no, I'm healthy. I feel great. You can have underlying issues. You can have cancer developing for 8 to 10 years without knowing it. So there's a lot of new tests that are out now that can help you assess your health and understand where you need to be. What does a win look like? So if you set goalposts and you kick a ball through, you should know when you're winning. So what does a win look like on a weekly basis for your health? And then the last thing is, how do you actually stay on track with making changes? How do you make this not just a 30-day challenge or a quick fix, but how do you turn this into a long-lasting, repeatable process for change, okay? So in our office, we stand by these essentials, and these are really the non-negotiables. And so what I tell my patients is if you guys want to be truly unstoppable, you've got to harness all of these essentials, okay? There's not one that's up there for a wrong reason. In fact, I'll go as far as to say, if you're not following these, it's likely the one that you don't follow that's going to kill you. You exercise all the time, you take care of your body, your diet's absolutely terrible. You know what I mean? You can't outrun a bad diet. I don't care how hard you try, right? So all the essentials have to be done in there. So we'll start with just understanding mindset, just kind of briefly. Your mind isn't just a control center. This is your body's secret weapon. And this is what we'll go through today, is that studies show that chronic stress can spike inflammation, just stress, by 40%. You got a healthy diet, you're exercising properly, you can't get your mind right, 40% increase in chronic inflammation. This is one of the things that paved the way from a mindset perspective for heart disease and a host of other ailments. So a positive mindset doesn't just help make you happier, it's what helps rewire your brain for resilience, which is what we all need. So you got to train your mind like you train your body. Every negative thought you have is a step towards chronic disease. And so we'll talk through mindset today, because really, if that part doesn't change, all the rest of the stuff that I talk about today will not matter long term. We're going to talk about diet, obviously. We're going to talk a lot about nutrition and I'm pumped about it, new studies, I'm a nerd, on nutrition and how to optimize your body's metabolism through healthy foods and how to eat, when to eat, why to eat it. We're going to go through that with you guys today. You should really have a laser focus on that. At the end of the day, you're what you eat. So every bite counts, and when we have a lot of fat tissue, that releases inflammatory cytokines, which are like your mediators in your body. It also throws your hormones off. A lot of times you think you're hungry, you're not actually hungry, your fat's telling you you're hungry. So we're going to talk about leptin and ghrelin, the different hormones that control hunger and satiation, so you guys can really take back control of your health. We'll go through fitness today too. Obviously your body's designed to move, we're built to move. We live in a culture right now, the average person sits 12 hours a day, when most physiologists believe we need to move 8 to 12 hours a day. So most of us are at an 8 to 9 hour deficit of movement daily, right? It makes it really hard to stay healthy if you're not moving properly. So we're going to talk about fitness, why fitness, how fitness, and also the implementation strategies for all the different kinds of fitness. I want you to have a great framework when you leave so you know how to stack it in your week so you win. We're going to go through chiropractic care and having a healthy spine and posture. I think your spine is really important because it's the superhighway for your nervous system. And so misalignments cause this domino effect, and they can lead to an 80% increase in risk of having chronic back pain and disability. In fact, the top 3 of the 4 causes of disability in the US are now related to the health of our spine because of sitting and technology. And most of us, if you guys are patients here, you're taking care of it, but most people who are in the common world right now do not take care of their spine. And it's the #1 reason why we can't take care of ourselves. A bad back doesn't cause cancer, but a bad back leads to inactivity, raised cortisol, bad food decisions, chronic pain, lack of sleep, down this domino effect that leads us to these bad things. And it's one of the most common things. So we're going to talk about it. How do you work home ergonomics? How do you keep your spine in alignment? How do you work on reversing injuries so you can get to the gym and not hurt yourself and stay healthy and stack these wins, okay? We'll talk a little bit about toxins as well. These invisible toxins we have now from plastics, from pesticides, from processed foods. There's an absolute war going on right now that a lot of us are losing because we're not aware of the toxins that are in our society. So we'll spend some time going through that as well. And again, you guys will leave with a framework to hopefully look like this when you're 72, right? So he's 72 years old, yes, yes. But the reality is that I will tell you guys this, you can absolutely have what you want in life, okay? You want to have a great body, you can have it. You want to be healthy from the inside out, you can absolutely have it. There are people who have more misfortune than you and worse genetics than you who are doing it. And so it really comes down to anchoring yourself, getting your mind right. That's what today's for. So by the time you leave, we'll have this awesome 30-day challenge. Does everyone have a packet, by the way? Does everyone have one of these? Okay. This is for you guys to keep, by the way. Okay, and so we'll talk through some of the things in here. This isn't the only thing we're doing for the 30-day challenge, but we've got all these guides that we've written for you guys on how to just track your progress, how to stack these different habitual changes. So if you guys haven't looked through this already, it's got some pretty good stuff in it. Okay, so let's talk about metabolism, okay? Let's first and foremost get a base understanding of what your body's metabolism is. So metabolism is the rate at which your body burns carbohydrates, fats, proteins for fuel. Basically what your metabolism is. We all have a metabolism in here, even if you don't think yours is healthy. We all have one. The reality is that a lot of us try to think about what we do on a daily basis being the major driver of our metabolism. So like if I'm not getting out there and working out and exercising, that's going to cause me to gain weight, to be unhealthy. The reality is the vast majority of our metabolism is just keeping ourselves alive. 70% of your metabolism in general is something known as your resting energy expenditure or your basal metabolic rate. It's what you're doing without doing anything, essentially, okay? When you look at this kind of chart and column up here, this is your basal metabolic rate here, okay? And then at the top through here, you have your other things that contribute to your metabolism. So you have NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That's just what you burn by living life, by moving, by making breakfast, by doing dishes, by washing clothes, by going to the store, by walking around. And then you have the next thing that creates your metabolism, which is the thermic effect of food. Did you guys know it actually costs your body energy to break down food?
What's a BMR?
BMR is basal metabolic rate. That's your baseline metabolic rate. So then you have your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, just basically what you do in your life that's not you sitting in a gym on a Stairmaster, working out. That's a huge part of your metabolism. Then you have the thermic effect of food. So when you eat food, your body requires energy to break down that food, okay? So it's different for each one. Fat has a very low thermic effect. Your body it doesn't really take a lot of effort for your body to process and break down fat. Carbohydrates have a little bit more. Protein has the highest, far and away. Anybody ever been to like a Rodizio Grill before? Anybody ever get the meat sweats? You guys been there before, right? That is some high thermic effect, right? You eat 1.5 pounds of caprina steak or whatever they call that thing with the fat cap on it, and all of a sudden you're like sweating. That's why, okay? There's a thermic effect of food, okay? So when we look at this, a lot of people think I'm gonna do this talk, and I think exercise is important. You absolutely have to exercise meaning getting in there, lifting weights, building your muscles. I think it's important. But when you think about metabolism, this is exercise activity thermogenesis, or the calories that you burn from working out. It makes up the smallest portion of your body's metabolism. For most people, 5% or less of their daily metabolism. So honestly, what that means, no offense, I do not care how many calories you burned in your step class. That is not what we're talking about today, how to go from 300 to 400 calories burned in your step class. What drives your metabolism is honestly everything else. Cool? So exercise is important, but we're not just talking 2 hours about exercise. We're talking about what makes up all these other things, okay? And so for starters, we're going to talk about what drives this. What drives your body's basic metabolic rate? Because if you want to win the battle of metabolism, if you want to keep your body lean and strong for a lifetime, this basal metabolic rate should ideally speaking be as high as possible, okay? So a couple facts with basal metabolic rate, okay? Number one, good thing to write down, your muscle is more metabolically active than fat, okay? So, meaning if you two are sitting here and you both weigh the same, but one of you has more fat than the other, you're the exact same weight, one of you at rest, the one with the more muscle, will actually burn fat more readily, okay? So your composition absolutely matters, okay? So are we going to talk about how to put on lean muscle mass? Absolutely. Are we going to talk about how to burn body fat? Absolutely. Because that is what controls this basal metabolic rate. So it's not the exercise that really causes the long-term change. It's exercise with everything else done properly that will actually raise your metabolic rate, so you're not having to sit at the gym 25 hours a day just to burn off the calories. Does that make sense? Okay? And there's a way to work out to actually raise your muscle mass, as we'll talk about today, in a way to eat so that you do raise your basal metabolic rate. Okay? Second, metabolism does not decrease at all until 60. So I talk to people all the time, sorry if you're over 60, but all the time, people, I'm 38, I'll be 39 this year. So they're like, you don't understand, doc, when you hit 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, you start slowing down, right? But all the research we've done shows that your potential for a normal metabolism is exactly the same from 20 to 60. It's really high when you're young, like 0 to 6 years old. I swear my kids could eat a tire and break that thing down, no problem, digest it. Those younger years, you have a super high metabolism, but it levels off at 20, stays about the same to 60, okay? Now, here's maybe some not good news if you wanted me to affirm you if you're over 60. Your metabolism slows down about 0.5% per year, okay? So all of you who think there's this precipitous, massive drop-off, it's not your metabolism. It's not your ability to have a metabolism. It's a lot of other things it could be. It could be your thyroid, it could be your hormones, it could be that this slow ball rolling down the hill finally caught up with you and things are spiraling out of control. That all could be true. I completely understand that, but it's not just your basal metabolic rate. So someone who's 70 might have a 5% slower metabolism than when they were 60. There may be some truth there, but there's a lot of other factors that go into it. So please don't just blame Father Time, okay? It doesn't do you any good to do that, all right? We talked about your composition mattering more than your weight and that your internal health matters. So as we talk today, it's important for you guys to understand your numbers. We'll talk about blood labs and things like that today, but if you have some internal issues or problems going on, working with those, fixing the underlying cause of those can help you get back to metabolically stable. So if you have those issues or problems, whether you're seeing a doctor, whether you want us to work on managing you guys, if you have labs and you want us to look at them for you and help you, we can do that. We can order blood labs for you guys or nutrition labs. We can do all of those things. The goal of this is going to be raising your body's metabolism. So when you think of problems with your metabolism, it's not just that you have 10 pounds of stubborn fat that you can't lose. Metabolic disorders are wide-ranging because when your metabolism is off, everything is affected. So metabolism problems are not just weight loss resistance. Metabolism problems are high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Those are metabolic issues. Heart disease, obesity, diabetes, those are all related to metabolic issues. Autoimmune disorders are metabolic issues. Thyroid problems obviously are metabolic issues. That's the main gland that controls your body's energy production. Problems like PCOS, infertility, Cushing's disease, cancers, arthritis, all of these are linked to metabolic problems. And when we're looking at people who start with gaining weight, have struggle losing weight, the problem is that the vast majority of us have an imbalanced metabolism. Our metabolism is not keeping up with our lifestyle. We're losing that war day over day, week over week, month over month. And so first thing we'll talk about just a little bit is stress, how stress affects our body's metabolism. We know that when you're chronically stressed, it raises your body's nervous system. And so we've got two halves to our nervous system. Anyone know what they're called for extra points? Yes. Okay, which is the one that helps you sleep at night? Yes. No, you said it. Parasympathetic, yes. You lost your dollar, sorry. No. No, you guys are doing great. Thank you. So you have sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is your fight or flight response, okay? Bear walks in the room right now. If you have a pulse, you're probably going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. You're going to run or fight the bear. That's your wired response for stress. The other half of our nervous system is responsible for healing us. So you've heard of fight or flight before, right? The other half is called rest and digest. And the importance of those two nervous systems is they have to work in tandem. They have to be able to work back and forth, right? So when we don't work on our stress management, when we're completely unaware that we are stressing over problems that we can't change, it creates a chronic stress and inflammation inside of our body. So if you're stressed all the time, you are inadvertently, because you probably didn't mean to do this, you are inadvertently raising your blood pressure, you are inadvertently downregulating your body's metabolism. Your immune system shuts down when you're stressed because your body thinks, if I'm running from a bear right now, I do not need to be healing from this little bacteria that's like in my nose, that's going to cause an infection, because I'm running from a bear. Like that's the point, is survival. But we sit in this chronically stressed state, day over day, week over week, month over month, and we wonder why our cortisol levels are up. We're constantly craving sugar. Sugar makes you run faster. In case you guys didn't know, just look at kids at the playground, right? Sugar makes you run faster. That's why we look for it. That's why we seek it out whenever we're stressed. We seek fat, sugar, and salt, the things that hold water in our body. I know it does. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Listen, I think that a lot of food manufacturers now and companies are truly evil because they use your body's survival instincts against you. And I think it's sneaky and tricky and completely unfair. I think I'm not for like the government to like come in and like control our lives, but I wish someone would get smacked around who makes crappy foods taste so good that you can't eat just one, right? I'm tired of it, right? You guys with me? And so we know this is an issue. We've actually started a club for this to work on stress management. Did anyone go to the last Beyond the Page? Show of hands. A couple of you guys did. So we have a patient who's been working with us for 12 years now, and she's an incredible clinical mental health therapist. And she started a free journaling club here that meets once a month. And so if you guys have not done it and you're like, I'm chronically stressed out, I wonder if I can get some strategies to work on it, there are sign-up lists. At the back of today, you'll have opportunities to sign up for everything. And it's working with a clinical mental health therapist. She actually teaches you how to journal and write your thoughts down and actually explore your emotions and work on learning how to, number one, become emotionally aware, but then also how to regulate those emotions as well. Great workshop to come to. We were full last time, so we put a cap on it because we ran out of space in our room. So we didn't think it'd be that much of a thing, but it is. So love to have you guys come to that and start learning more about that. But understanding stress is really important. So what happens when you're stressed? From a hormonal standpoint, your cortisol goes up. And everyone's heard of cortisol, right? Show of hands? Yes. We all think about cortisol as, generally speaking, being bad, and I would agree, long-term cortisol is bad, but you actually need cortisol. Cortisol drives hunger, it drives mood, so you have to have some type of cortisol. But chronically high cortisol from stress causes problems. Cortisol causes your body to crave, absolutely crave, sugar and fat, okay? When you're stressed, your body is in starvation mode. Your body's either worried about fight or flight, running from a bear, the winter that's coming. I don't know if any of you guys had a bad crop year the last couple of years and went through a famine. Anyone do that? We're kind of out of that realm though, right? But you have to think, up until 200 years ago, we did not have refrigerators in our home, right? 100 years ago? I don't know when. I don't know the date. Does anyone know? It's been a while, right? 10,000 years of genetics, 20,000 years of genetics in our body. And the last 100 years, we were fighting starvation for 9,890 years, right? The last 100 years, we have not had to fight that anymore. Our body, though, is hardwired to, in times of abundance, put on extra fat to hold on to it because that helps us survive in the short term. And what we've realized as we've gone through the 1900s into the mid to late 1900s is that eating more does not help us survive long. That's the problem. Our bodies think that, but we know that that's not true. So while the cupcakes looks good, while the chips look good, while all those things look good and they're designed in a way so that once your body starts eating them, you can't stop, That is what causes us problems. The same things now that give us life are now killing us. That's the biggest problems that we're dealing with now. So cortisol gets imbalanced first, okay? So cortisol's high, you're craving sugar, sweet, fat. Cortisol increases inflammation, so long-term cortisol can increase arthritis. It starts taking you down this vicious cycle. As your body starts putting on more weight, especially from excessive sugar consumption, your insulin levels are the next thing that gets affected in the chain. So your insulin levels are high. When insulin levels are high, it tells your cells to pull in sugar. Number one metabolizer of sugar in your body, your muscles. So people say, I don't want to have a lot of muscles. Well, it helps you better burn sugar. So if you like sugar, maybe have a lot of muscles. Just saying. It helps your body metabolize sugar, but if you keep pushing insulin over and over and over again, your body starts to become insensitive to it. Your body's regulation of glucose in the bloodstream is one of the most important things because glucose can be absolutely toxic to your body. So your body will pull glucose out of your tissues, out of your bloodstream as fast as possible because it's going to damage your arteries, it's going to damage your joints. The inflammatory process of oxidizing sugar is terrible when it's at a high level. So your body's constantly trying to do that. So inadvertently, again, we're not thinking about it, by smashing 100 grams of carbohydrates, 200 grams of carbohydrates in excess of what we earn through exercise, because you earn carbohydrates through movement and exercise, this is what starts to cause those problems. Once your insulin starts to dysregulate, you start getting problems with leptin and ghrelin. Anyone heard of those before? So these are the hormones that are actually produced in part by your fat cells, mostly by your fat cells, and they're what tell your body to be hungry or to be full. Okay, so typically what happens is once your body has enough of a layer of fat that it feels like we're pretty good, it's going to turn on your ghrelin hormone and it's going to say you're full. Stop eating. Hey, buddy, it's enough. You're full. We got enough fat stores. We're fine, right? In the same way that we develop insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is a big issue. 40% of Americans now have some type of insulin resistance over the age of 18. 40%, almost 1 in 2 of us. Because of diet. Once that happens, though, and you start developing insulin resistance, something we don't talk about, we don't have medications for it, you start to develop leptin and ghrelin abnormalities. And so essentially what starts to happen is your fat cells are literally combined an organ. And so when you develop more fat cells, they want to be around. They want a seat at the table. And so rather than that ghrelin stopping your body, over time your leptin can become downregulated. Due to stress, your leptin's going to overwhelm and say, hey, I know that you think you have enough fat right now, but you are so stressed, this winter's probably going to be really bad. Let's keep packing it on, buddy. We never know what's coming in the future. Let's pack on the fat. So here's what happens. So it tells your body to store more fat. It's saying you're chronically stressed, you've got these issues going on, keep storing more fat, right? What you have to understand, the last thing on this, is that your body is not built for longevity. Is that a shock to anyone? Your body can live to 100, it can live to 120. Your body's primary goal is not to live to 100 or 120. What's your body's primary goal? Does anyone know? What is it? Reproduction, yes. Get to the age of reproduction. No joke. Get to the age of reproduction, and then its second goal, survive. Not 100 years from now, right now. Your body is built for survival in the moment, because before we had 4 walls in insulation and heat and cold, the world could kill you, right? And so your body did everything possible to survive in the moment. So you have to answer this question. If I want to be healthy for a long time, if I want to live healthily 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, you have to answer, am I going to be a slave to the underlying urges I have, or am I going to rise above it intellectually and realize that I have to be in control of my body? You have to answer that for yourself. And if you don't, you just say, I'll do whatever, you're going to go this route 99 times out of 100, right? You have to logically think about this for the future, right? Because I know the chips look good, I know the snacks look good, I know all the food looks good, all those different things, right? But the more you do that, the more you allow that to win, the more you're allowing your body to say, I care about survival right now, and I don't care what happens 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And the problem is this, is that as we get more technology, more everything, guys, we're dropping like this. I see it happening to my patients. I see it happening to people in the community. I keep getting news reports like my kids are in school about like other kids having problems, cancer's on the rise in kids, autism's on the rise in kids. It's a big, big, big issue. What should you eat? What shouldn't you eat? Okay, and we'll talk about proportions as well. So people say sometimes, but I eat healthy, right? And so I want to talk about the toxic healthy foods, the foods that you probably thought were healthy, but you might want to relook. Low fat and fat-free foods. I think we're getting better on it. I'm hoping that we have this understanding that fat is good and healthy for you, right? But the 70s and 80s messed a lot of us up. I was only there for a little bit of it, and maybe the 90s, I was there for that. And so we had this whole thing happen. I don't want to go over the long story, but the very long story short is that we had a lot of clinical research that was falsified in the 1960s, where they pinned fat as the culprit for the reason we had heart disease and not sugar. They literally changed the results of the study. It was called the Framingham study. It made national news in 2014. The Harvard researchers who did it came out on their deathbed and said, I'm so sorry, I've carried this guilt my entire life, because the guy who came out with that study and was credited for saying fat's the enemy, sugar's good for you, you can't overeat sugar, he was appointed head of the FDA in 1974. He created the food pyramid. And so this guy lived with his guilt and shame, and he was paid today's sum of $50,000 to do it too. So I don't know what that was in 64, a couple grand maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you're not retiring on that. So he did that, and that had to kill millions of people, and he came out and said it. So in 2014, made national news on it, but he's the reason that we started taking all the fat out of foods and adding in carbohydrates. It's not normal for yogurt to have 30 grams of sugar per 6-ounce serving, which by weight is more than a Coca-Cola. That is not normal, right? We took out any bit of healthy fat that there was in there, and we just jacked it full of sugar and artificial flavors. Not a good thing. So if you're still eating low-fat and fat-free foods, not naturally occurring low-fat and fat-free foods, but if you're buying processed foods that could be healthy, that have had fat taken out of them and have too much sugar, you probably want to rethink that. Next, granola bars and cereal. While we're on it, a lot of granola products are really high in refined sugars, unhealthy oils. Yes, it says Nature Valley, which sounds so beautiful. Like it was made in a stream, and like this sweet old lady harvested it and like made it for you with a little drizzle of honey. No, they're terrible. They absolutely are. Like something that has 30 grams of carbohydrates, 2 grams of protein, and if it has 5, by the way, they're gonna put on the front, high in protein. And you're gonna be like, oh, it's high in protein. And you eat it, and it's like, it's all sugar. Terrible. I don't have to start with cereal. It's the same thing. Cereal is just sugar, by and large. There might be some healthier ones out there. There's some newer ones that are made actually a little bit healthier, but like, by and large, generalized cereal, terrible. These are just things you gotta come along with me with. If you wanna argue, we can argue later. The flavored yogurts, I already talked about those. Veggie chips, veggie straws, while we're at it. They're not vegetables. If you guys read them, they're vegetable, they're potatoes. They're potato chips, but they can call them veggies. They have some carrots in them. They have a carrot color. Great. I see veggie straws and I just cringe. Only because they might have this much vegetable. So compared to a potato chip, they might be 1% healthier, but the person who bought them truly believes that they're healthy. By and large, I've seen it all the time, right? Drives me crazy. Sports drinks. Yes, electrolytes are important, but if you or your child is engaging in 30 minutes of activity, I promise you, are not electrolyte deficient from that workout. Now, you might be electrolyte deficient in general, but you do not need to chug 2 Gatorades because you went to the gym and walked 1.5 miles at a 3% incline. I'm just telling you, okay? You're getting some electrolytes, yes, but you're getting a ton of sugar and artificial colors and all those other things. So, diet products, artificial sweeteners, the jury is still out on these. It's a very gray area. For 10 years, I was told they were terrible. Now there's some research that they might not be as bad as they want. It's a gray area in that you can use research to argue both sides of artificial sweeteners and diet products. However, I'll just avoid the argument and say they're probably not that good for you because there's definitely a better thing you should be doing. So you can probably argue that it's not like the worst thing, but there's probably a better way to do it, if that makes sense. I stay away from them. Again, there's been people kind of reeling back a little bit, but I already made my decision and I'm sticking with it. Again, you can find some studies in the last 2 years that can say the other way. There's a lot of argument in the nutrition space online whether you should use them or should not. Here's what I would say. Here's when I would say you can use it, okay? You're 120 pounds overweight. You are chronically addicted to pop, and for some reason you don't like Zevia or stevia sweetened sodas, and you use Diet Coke to lose 80 pounds, which could save your life. I know I'm playing like devil's advocate to myself here. I'm actually okay with that. I honestly am. Like, I'm not going to sit there and yell at you for your Diet Coke if you are so addicted to regular Coke that like you drink 6 a day and you make that switch. It might actually help you in that instance. But long term, you should probably stay away from them. Is that fair while we're on it? Because I get some researchers who are like, actually a new study came out, and I'm like, I get it, totally get it. But the naturalist in me says it's probably not good in the long term. And although we can find things that say they're not that bad, you probably shouldn't be using them. Last thing, processed plant-based meats. Please, beyond meat, anything, yes. Okay, I'm an omnivore. I'm okay if you're a vegetarian. I'm totally okay with it. But if you're a vegetarian that wants to eat things that look and taste like meat and you think they're healthier, I can promise you they're not. If you read the back of some of those things, they are absolutely toxic. Typically, they're low in protein. They have lots of fillers in them. And the proteins they use are very low-quality proteins. We'll talk about protein in a minute. You want high-quality proteins in your diet. So unfortunately, plant-based sources of protein, you need lots of them. Like, you might need 50 to 60 grams of a plant-based protein to get the same amino acid ratios in the meat. So my thought is just eat the vegetables or eat the meat, but like don't eat things that are made to look like meat that are worse than the vegetables themselves. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? It's like we want to eat our meat, but have it not be like it. I don't know. I think there's this whole debate on it, but I think it's gotten out of control. I would highly recommend not using processed plant-based meats as part of your staple diet. Please. Cool? You guys hate me yet? No? Okay, cool. Awesome. So, but I eat healthy. Okay, I already eat healthy. For years, I don't know why, but I had this thought that if you just ate healthy food, you would be in great shape. You can overeat healthy food. So like when we go through this, portions do matter. What you eat matters. It's not all just calories in, calories out, because you can count things down and eat really unhealthy food and maybe be a little bit lighter on a scale but still be unhealthy. But generally speaking, we should work and focus on eating healthy, but then also looking at our overall composition. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about like nerdy macronutrient ratios and fun things like that today. What should you prioritize if you're starting to eat healthier? Where the science has taken us in the last 3 to 4 years is that healthy eating should, ideally speaking, prioritize protein first, okay? So prioritizing protein first means that you're looking at a meal and saying, okay, we know that our body's primary goal with eating is to digest and absorb nutrients, and our muscles act as a store base for glucose. So if we do not eat enough protein, it is legitimately impossible for our body to hold on to lean muscle mass, okay? One of the biggest hallmarks for healthy aging is retaining lean muscle. So as we talk about this, please hear me. You guys are not going to walk out of this talk, change your diet, and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger tomorrow. It will not happen. So please don't think that you're going to get too bulky with this. We're talking about health of muscle. Trust me, I've been trying to get too big for like 20 years. It doesn't work. I've been really working at having someone tell me you need to get smaller. You got way too many muscles. So healthy eating prioritizes protein first, okay? And then we look at our sources of healthy fats. Fats are absolutely essential. Healthy fats are essential, so you do absolutely need healthy fats in your diet. You need your essential fatty acids. True or false? There are essential carbohydrates. False. Truly speaking, carbohydrates are not essential. Meaning if you never ate like a true carb, like a grain, you would not be deficient in that. There's no science showing that carbs are essential. In fact, if you eat protein, protein actually converts to carbohydrates in the body when needed. So I'm not saying you can't eat carbs ever, but I'm just saying there's no such thing as essential carbohydrates. You can still have some. I'm not going to take everything away from you guys. Healthy eating prioritizes protein first, then healthy fats, and then we think about like the fibrinous carbohydrates, okay? So that's really the priority that you guys want to think about. How do I actually eat? How do I plan my meals? That's how you do it. Age-old question. We've got a lot of answers for it now. So what should I eat? So if we start with protein, you want to answer the question, how much protein should I eat? Okay? And this question's plagued me for a long time, a lot of my patients. There's been debate back and forth on it in the community. And according to studies from the past 10 years, ideally speaking, you should eat 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So not what you weigh right now, ideally speaking, and then we can help you figure out the answer to this, what you'd want to weigh, if you eat protein towards that and keep everything else in balance, you will actually gradually go towards that. Okay? So 1 gram per 1 pound of ideal body weight. Okay, and then we're going to talk about the other ratios as well, but I want to talk about why this is important. So it's important to keep muscle mass. We know that 20% of people who have cancer die because of muscle wasting. 20% of people who die of cancer have muscle wasting, right? As we age, the biggest things that cause death are falls, traumas, chronic disease. And we know that muscle helps with all of those things. Helps with sickness, helps with disease, helps with eccentric contraction, so going up and down stairs. You fall and break your hip over 80, you have a greater than 50% chance of dying within the year, right? So keeping this lean muscle mass is extremely important for your body, okay? Muscle also drives your metabolism. So the last thing you'd want to be is undernourished and overfed. Too little protein, too much of everything else in your diet. You're essentially lowering your metabolic rate. You're decreasing your lean muscle mass. You're making yourself less resilient to all the problems that come on in life. And you're causing these problems that make you hungrier, that make you want to eat more, that make you want to gain weight and go in the opposite direction. So the way to stop it is to start thinking about protein first and really getting towards that 1 gram per 1 pound of ideal body weight. Okay, question?
Is that per day, per week?
Oh, per day. Thank you. We could really go sideways there. Someone writes down per week. Got it. Checked it off. Next. Yeah. Okay. So a couple things with this. And I don't want to go too far down the chain where we get lost in the weeds here, but you are what your protein ate. So quality does matter when it comes to your meat products. Okay. So pasture raised versus free range versus cage free versus whatever you call it, basic. No. Good guess. So cage free, so let me go through this real quick. Cage free, not confined to cages. Technically speaking, they're not confined to cages, okay? But it sounds weird, like they're cage free. It doesn't sound like they're in the pasture. They just don't have cages, right? So your brain goes, maybe that's the best, but it's debatable, right? They look arbitrary, largely speaking. Cage-free, largely speaking, is the worst. They're not kept in cages, but they're kept often indoors and in crowded barns, but they just don't have cages, okay? Less mobility leads to increased body fat. They're definitely not being pasture-raised at this point. They're probably eating meal, and let's just use chickens, for example. They're probably eating a meal substrate with corn, okay? So you're eating what they ate. So if you're eating an animal that isn't eating its native diet, that's eating more of like what humans shouldn't eat, the fat ratios in that animal is going to be more healthy and less desirable. They're going to have, what'd you say? Or antibiotics, yes, for sure. But even just for the fat and protein, they're going to have less dense protein. They're going to have higher ratios of unhealthy, which is omega-6 fats, okay? Your next level would be free range. And free range animals have access to outdoor areas, but amount, quality, duration can vary. So like they're allowed to go outside, but they don't always get to go outside, okay? I know this sounds stupid, but this is truth. This is how we do this, right? The best is pasture raised. A requirement is they're actually living on pastures with access to natural foliage, to forage, grass, bugs, things like that. So you want pasture raised ideally. They have high nutritional value, higher ratios of omega-3s, more vitamin density, more nutrient density, okay? So it does matter eating what they ate, okay? In the same sense too, and again, I'm okay if you are vegan or vegetarian, but what you have to realize is it's harder to get your proteins if you don't eat meat, okay? It's harder because the amount of calories you have to get from a food to reach the protein goals in vegetarian fed foods, it's much higher, okay? So let's say you're eating quinoa, for example, right? You need to eat like a pound of quinoa to get the same amino acids as 4 ounces of steak, right? It's just a much lower amino acid quality score with those. Tofu, the same thing. Like you have to eat it's like 450 grams of tofu to get 40 grams of protein, where a 6-ounce chicken breast is 40 grams of protein at 100 calories, right? So you have to spend so many more calories to get it out of that. So I'm okay if you do it, just realize it's a bit harder to do that. So I prefer if you are an omnivore, meat's okay, quality meat's great, you should probably be eating some of it, and some eggs while you're at it. Okay, so grass-fed means that they are fed a diet of grass. So it's like 70% grass is what it should be. So you can still be grass-fed and have some grains, because let's say cows who live in the Midwest during the winter, they may not get access to grass as much. Number one, it's not growing, and so they are allowed to be fed a substrate of grain 30% of the time. So that's, and so we consider grass-fed. So like it came out a few years ago that like Kerrygold grain-fed its cows, and like people were mad at them, and they were like, "Have you guys seen winter? Like, can we think about this for a second? Like, yes, we feed our cows grain sometimes, but people were up in arms that didn't really understand farming, right? Like grass has to grow in an environment, and cows eat a lot of it while we're at it, right? You can't just ship them down to Texas for 4 months, just like herd them, migrate them down. I don't think, at least, I don't know, but I don't think you can do that. So grass-fed means they are fed primarily a diet of grass. That does lead to healthier omega-3 fatty acid ratios, okay? The optimal would be grass-fed and grass-finished. And so oftentimes with grass-fed cows, they finish them on a diet of grain because they gain a lot of weight before they're taken out. And what it does is it allows them to gain weight, but it causes a lot of stomach problems, so they can only do it for like 90 days. If you have a really healthy human, and if you guys eat really healthy and you eat crappy for like a day or two, how bad do you feel? Imagine doing that for like 90 days. That's what these cows do. So it really disrupts their gut microbiome and causes a lot of problems with infection. So they grain finish them for a little bit of time, and then they slaughter them. They weigh more, they get more price per pound, and we all think that they're healthy, the healthiest. They're healthier, but they're not the healthiest. The healthiest would be, while we're on it, grass finished. So grass finished means that they were fed grass their entire life up until the day that they died. And that's like the ideal one that you want. That's gonna result in the most healthy omega-3 fatty acid ratios. Okay.
Who sells that?
You can find it in stores. You have to look for it. You can get it from Sweetgrass Dairy, which is up in Delaware, as an example. Last thing, fats don't make you fat. So if we didn't beat a dead horse enough, you need healthy fats to thrive. Your body absolutely thrives on EPA and DHA, which is the active form of fat. So where are you going to get those fats from? Primarily from animal sources. EPA and DHA are animal-sourced omega-3 fatty acids, okay? You can get them from vegetables. You get them in the form of something known as ALA. ALA, sorry for all the acronyms, alpha-linoleic acid. It must be converted to EPA and DHA inside of your body. So if you're eating a vegetarian form of omega-3s, and I do these, I eat hemp seeds, I eat chia seeds, I eat flax seeds. Sometimes you eat those and it'll say like 10 grams of omega-3 fats, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just won the week. Those convert in the body. For females, between 8 to 20%. For guys, between 0 to 4%. So if you're a male and you're a vegetarian, it is one of the hardest ways to get your omega-3 fatty acids. We do not have the conversion compounds available. I don't know if it's from hunter-gatherer days or foraging, but we convert them very horribly. So just if you are eating lots of vegetables, you're eating high omega-3 vegetables, know that you still may need to supplement an EPA and DHA and essential fatty acid because you may not get them converted to enough of it. So if you're looking at fats and you're thinking I'm eating chia seeds and hemp seeds, I'm okay, you got to run the conversions on it, if that makes sense. So but fat makes you healthy, okay? So let's play a game where we talk about levers. So whenever you're thinking about what do I eat on a daily basis, you've got your 3 major nutrients that comprise your diet. You have protein, you have carbohydrates, and you have fats, okay? And so really the game of optimizing your body's metabolism is knowing where the levers should be and how to move them to keep score on your body, okay? The real easy one, because we already talked about it, starts with protein. So if you're jotting some notes down, this would be a perfect place to kind of work on yourself here for a minute. And okay, and again, if you don't know, it's okay, but like, how much do I ideally think I should weigh? I know it sounds weird, but like, how much do I ideally think I should be? Like for me, I think I should be 180 pounds, right? That's what I believe I should weigh. I've weighed pretty close to that my entire life. Pretty happy with where that is. I want to weigh that. So I'm going to eat 1 gram of protein per day. That's my goal. 180 grams of protein a day, okay? The rest of my calories, and I'm gonna say it and then I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, can come from either carbohydrates or fat, okay? For most people, it probably doesn't matter, okay? I used to be a huge proponent of an advanced plan or a ketogenic diet where you ate very, very little sugars, very little carbohydrates. And I still think that that can be healthy for people, but I don't think you necessarily have to. If you have healthy insulin levels, if your body fat's where you want it to be, if you're not extremely overweight, if you don't have food addictions and problems, you could eat fats or carbs in either of these ratios. Like you eat 150 grams of protein, you could eat not all carbohydrates, but mostly carbohydrates, low fat. You could do that, and if you get your ratios right, you'll lose weight. You could eat the same amount of protein, eat low carbohydrates, high fat, which is a ketogenic diet, and you could still lose weight. You could, really speaking, do either. You don't have to do one or the other. However, because a lot of us have sugar addictions, whenever I talk about doing challenges like this, sometimes I want to stack the odds in your favor. So if we're doing this and you're looking at, okay, how do I challenge myself for the next 30 days? You don't have to raise your hand, but if you know that you have a bit of a sugar problem, if you know you got one, you might want to downregulate the carbs a little bit, because it's so hard sometimes for your body. You've got such that addiction to it that cutting them out will actually completely reset your insulin sensitivity if you do it for about 28 days. Anyone ever cut out sugar for 30 days before? Is it awesome? Like, and you try to go back and it's kind of difficult too? I mean, it's great. Like, I've done it several times before. It's absolutely awesome. So I highly recommend, if you feel like you've got yeah, okay, let's be fair. Yeah. 48 to 72 hours, not fun. But after that, it gets a lot better. So when we take you guys through the challenge, if you're doing the challenge with us, we'll actually help you guys calculate these numbers, okay? So answering the question, what should I eat in a day? Well, what's your total daily energy expenditure? What are you actually burning throughout the day, right? And you get it wrong sometimes. You try to get it within about 15%, but you need to know that number. You need to have an idea of that, okay? If you've never done this stuff before, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve to it, but that's what our job is, to help you through this. So when we understand what you're burning, what your body's utilizing per day, then we can change it up or down, right? So like, hey, you burn 2,200 calories a day. Awesome. Doc, I want to lose a pound a week and I want to lose 30 pounds. Great. We take off the amount of calories that would lose a pound a week, roughly 500 calories a day. And if you do it over 30 weeks, you'll be 30 pounds lighter. Like, it's extreme. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So we know this. So this is how we start playing with levers and how we start really changing it. So if you're saying, I've tried it before, I've tried it and I failed, all those things, what I would challenge you is, like, if you've tried it this way before, it probably worked. And if it didn't work, then there's something else going on with your hormones, with your blood labs, with something that's going on there, and we got to figure that out. Because if you're eating at a deficit with good protein and you're working out and you're keeping your muscle, the pounds should shed off. And you should get to where you want to be if your goal is weight loss, okay? So just to give you an example, because I put that thing up before, it's not like you're starving. Like, this is 2,200 calories a day. You know what I mean? Not this whole thing, but like a portion of that, a third of that, okay? Sorry. While we're on it, someone's like going to call me out, right? But so generally speaking, this is my diet. This is roughly what I eat on a daily basis. I have a smoothie, or I have eggs for breakfast. I have a smoothie when I'm in the office. I come in at 7 a.m. So I have a smoothie on the way here, or when I'm here. If I don't have to be in here at 7 a.m., I make eggs, okay? And I'm shooting for this 50 grams of protein number, okay, which you can easily get using those two things. You cannot get it if you have pancakes. It's pretty hard to do. You'd have to eat a whole crap ton of pancakes. Even the protein ones, it'd be really hard to do. You can have some pancakes, but you got to have some things that are high in protein. Question? Well, it's other things too, not just eggs. I said eggs, but like, I'll do like a little bit of toast, or I'll do some fruit with it as well, things like that as well. So not just 500 calories of eggs. That'd be a lot. Yeah, it'd be a lot. But generally speaking, I use the power of egg whites. If you guys have never used the power of egg whites before, they're great. So like, eggs are great, but eggs do have a good amount of fat in them. And I love the yolk, and I would argue that you should never only eat egg whites, because the yolks are probably one of the most nutritional packed powerhouses on the planet, right? Half the protein, 90% of the nutrients in an egg comes from the yellow stuff. So they're good. And although eggs have cholesterol, they're fine. It's been refuted several times. You can eat your eggs. Anyone ever listen to Lewis Black, the stand-up comedian? His bit on eggs is fantastic. If you guys want to write that down too, laugh on the way home. Just, it's the truth. He's like, they were good, so I ate them, and then they said they're bad, so I didn't eat them. And then they said, well, if you didn't eat them, you're really messed up, because they're actually good again. So I ate twice as many eggs for a year, and then they said they were bad again. And I'm like, well, now I'm really screwed. Like, I have no idea which way to go. Eggs are good. Eggs are good. So you can, I mean, yeah, so a grass-fed cottage cheese is incredible. Generally speaking, it's incredible. It's so flexible, it's durable. I love it if you eat dairy, which I do. I'm a fan of dairy. Dairy, for me, was eggs for maybe some of you guys who are in older generations. Dairy has been on and off so many times in the nutrition community. And now that it's back on, I'm never letting it go again. Because I believed it the first time, and then I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me, because I've eaten dairy my whole life. And it's like, you need the quality dairy, right? Like, your Kraft single slices I wouldn't define those as dairy, but a grass-fed dairy, cows that ate great food, who have great milk, I'm a huge fan of it, okay? How do you supercharge your fat burning? How do you supercharge your body's ability to burn fat? It's with getting good, healthy, metabolically healthy foods. So I'm just gonna go over them briefly for you guys. We've talked about a lot of them already. Your protein-rich foods, your grass-fed meats, your wild-caught fish, your pasture-raised eggs, those all help to increase thermogenesis. So we talked about like the thermic effect of food. Eating a good amount of protein too also increases your body's metabolic rate. So down-regulating and thinking you're helping yourself, you're not, okay? The average adult eats 68 grams of protein a day. What I'm telling most people to do, again, I'm just citing the average, is doubling it. No joke. And this has not changed despite 10 years of research. The RDA has not changed on it. This is the same thing as vitamin D, where the RDA for vitamin D is like 200 international units a day, like just enough to prevent rickets, right? And I don't know why they haven't changed it yet, but they haven't. So you need more of these foods. Your leafy greens and your cruciferous vegetables, foods like spinach, your broccoli, cauliflower, chard, high in nutrients, tons of magnesium in them, great for detoxification as well, especially the cruciferous ones because they've got the sulfur-containing amino acids that are great for your liver. So I think those are really important to have lots of in your diet, okay? Healthy fats, so your avocados, your nuts, your seeds, even your coconut oils that has medium chain triglycerides in it, avocado oil, olive oil, those are great for providing energy, for lubricating your joints, really important for brain health and hormonal health, okay? So you need your essential healthy fatty acids. And then the other things that are great are berries, which are super packed in fiber and antioxidants. Berries should be a huge proponent of your diet. You should think like a grizzly bear just walking around like just scooping up berries. I think they're awesome. What? I love frozen, yeah. So like if you guys don't have a membership to Costco and you like cooking, you're missing out. Costco's got like these giant bags of berries that are wild caught. I love them. I'm a huge fan of berries. I keep a frozen bag of berries, strawberries, blueberries, strawberries, and cherries in my freezer at all times. I'm going to say this, I think you're a savage if you put raspberries and blackberries in your smoothies. I'm just going to say it out loud. If you guys have found a way to do that, not get crap in your teeth, please let me know. But I think you're a savage. I just think you're a glutton for punishment and you enjoy that. So I use the non-seed berries in my smoothies always. So research on alcohol, and we'll just go here because you guys brought it up. Research on alcohol, there is zero amount of alcohol that's good for you. Sorry, if you want to drink wine and say you're getting resveratrol, you need to drink your weight in wine to meet the resveratrol standards to actually start increasing your body's antioxidant capacity. The French paradox, who's heard of the French paradox before? The French paradox, real quick, everyone here, because we got to roll. French paradox said that French drink wine. French live longer than people. Therefore, wine is good. That was the French paradox. And so we're all like, the French are doing it, right? The French also have some of the strictest food standards on the planet. I have patients who have gluten allergies who can go to France and eat pasta and not have a reaction because they're probably more allergic to the chemicals and pesticides here than that, okay? So the idea that resveratrol in wine is helping you live longer is not true. Alcohol specifically is a poison to the body, and it requires your liver to stop every other function to do it. You do not break down any fat when you're breaking down alcohol. So I might have a drink a week. I grew up in a generation where my dad taught me that a drink or two a day was good for you. And so I never liked drinking, and I didn't even drink until I was 21, and he was like, you gotta learn how to drink. It's gonna help you live longer. I'm just saying, I wasn't a doctor yet, and my dad's a smart guy, so I was like, I'll listen to you. I might have a drink a week. That's my thing. But if I do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Because the rest of my diet is great, right? Like, you can do those one-off things. It's when you have no control and you sit down and you have 18 beers, that's 1,400 calories, and then you can't break down fat for the next 18 hours because your liver is just breaking all that crap down. You do that 2 nights on the weekend and on a Wednesday, and you wonder why you gain 15 pounds in a month and a half. Like, that's very simple mathematics, right? Law of thermodynamics, you're gonna get big. So real quick, so we have 2 different plans and protocols. You guys have probably all gotten these in workshops or books. You guys can Google them, but we have an advanced and a core plan. And the recommendation from what the diet I told you guys is either advanced or core. Core plan is the way you should eat. It's whole foods. It does have some sprouted grains in there and an allowance for carbohydrates. Advanced plan is almost zero carbohydrates and very little grains, and even certain types of berries only. So you can decide what you want to do or how you want to do it, and we're happy to guide you through this. But if you look up those plans, that's the way we talk about eating. Next, we'll talk a little bit about understanding your numbers and determining your unique plan for you. So what you have to find out in the beginning is, are you under-muscled? Meaning, if we use an in-body scanner, you can actually tell if you don't have enough muscle on your body, right? Some of you guys might need to put on some muscle. Some of you guys might be overfed. So we look at that, and there's too much body fat on there. The ratios are off. We know that the proportions are off. And so if someone is under-muscled and overfed, overfat, then we have to work on getting those ratios right. And you fix those ratios by changing your nutrition and then by changing your fitness. So the biggest ways we know to influence muscle is to eat more protein and then to stimulate muscle growth through physical fitness, through activity, through lifting heavy things. Things that make your body say we need more muscle, and more muscle tells our body we need to live longer. So it's a great thing, never a bad thing. Okay? If you're doing the challenge with us, we'll work through this with you guys. After this, you'll get this little sheet that you can fill out. And basically, we want to help kind of guide you through it. So we ask you, like, what are your goals? And we left a big box for, like, I don't know. I have no idea. And then we'll tell you what your goals are. I'll be happy to tell you what you should do. No problem doing that. So you fill this out, and we'll basically walk through it with you. If you tell us, like, what your goal energy level is, we can actually calculate for you your daily energy expenditure. And then we make a plan, we work the plan, and we keep score, right? So that's how you win in life, is you know what your metrics are. You have objective ways of doing it. Guessing, especially when it comes to health like this, it doesn't work. It doesn't work if you're like, I'm just going to eat a little healthier. Like, if you really want to make changes, get disciplined for a little bit. It'll make a world of difference, I'm telling you, okay? Some of you guys have other issues going on. So maybe you're listening to this and saying, but doc, you don't understand, I have a thyroid problem. I have a thyroid problem, I have a hormone issue. I've got imbalance here or there, right? Sometimes just changing your diet might not be enough. Sometimes we have to work on targeting those issues and problems that we have. We do a metabolics program in our office. So we can either do blood testing, which looks at like thyroid function, hormone function, looks through your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels. We can actually see where you're deficient. We can work on doing the right supplementation is what I prefer to do to bring you back to balanced. Most of our patients, we can get you back to balance without having to do any type of hormone injections. I'm not a huge fan of them because they don't fix the underlying cause. And so there are some people I have to send for that, but largely speaking, a guy comes into my office, has low testosterone. We're going to work on boron deficiency. We're going to work on vitamin D. We're going to work on trace minerals and nutrients like zinc. And people's testosterone levels double without having to get on hormone replacement therapy. But it's easier where we live in just to go to a doctor and get a shot, and all those underlying issues aren't fixed. So your testosterone might be better, but everything else is bad, right? You've got to work on fixing the cause of the issue. So that's what we specialize in our office. So if you have gut problems, we can do a gut test. If you have metabolic imbalance, this is one of my favorite tests to do is our metabolomics panel. This will actually tell you how you're functioning on the inside. So it might be hard to read in the back, but it looks at your oxidative stress levels. We can actually see if you have toxins in your blood, if you have DNA damage going on. We can see all of those things. We can see it now. We can see if your mitochondria are working properly. So do your mitochondria have the trace minerals, the nutrients, the vitamins that it needs? Your mitochondria would actually make your energy, your ATP. So we can tell now, is your mitochondria working at 50%? We need to fix that, right? If your mitochondria is working at 50%, you're burning 500-600 calories less per day. You can eat as light as you want. You're going to be stuck, right? So we want to work on fixing these things, right? Look at omega scores. We can see how inflamed you are. A lot of people have an exposure to environmental toxins, so we can actually look at your toxin exposure. The amount of people I've seen who have low levels of lead, who have low levels of mercury, who have arsenic, who have these things that definitely affect your body's metabolic functions, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we'll talk about it, but drink filtered water, stay away from toxins, stay away from plastic, okay? Methylation support. So does your liver need help? Are you making enough of the proper enzymes to break down toxins? We can look at all these things now. On your sheet, in a category, there's all of our tests that we do, okay? There's the metabolomics panel that looks for nutrient deficiency. There's the gut panel. There's hormone panels. With any of those tests, even if you're ordering them, we'll talk before I put in the order to make sure it's the right test for you. So like if you're confused and you're like, I don't know what test to order, We don't just drop the order and I'll talk to you first and say, let's make sure this is the right panel. Especially for the hormone panels, those can vary based on what you need. But if you don't get regular blood work, you can order it here. Or if you have regular blood work and want us to look at it, we're happy to do that for you as well. I had a patient with a thyroid problem. Her insurance only covered them looking at her T3. So if you know anything about the thyroid, there's like 4 or 5 different markers. And for 2 years, she's been getting T3 panels. And her doctor's like, your T3 is fine. But her TSH was through the roof, and she couldn't get it covered. And she didn't know, because she works in finance and she doesn't know hormones very well. Finally, she's like, just order the panel. It's like a $100 panel. And then her TSH is like through the roof, but her insurance wouldn't cover it. And so then we got her the appropriate help she needed, right? It's silly sometimes. And she had no idea. It just depends on the person, okay? So we can look at these metabolic pathways now and really see, like, this is your ability to break down carbs, fats, and proteins. A lot of times people have broken pieces in the chain. And it's like, I'm eating right, I'm doing the right things. Why am I this way? Why can't I burn fat? Why is my body not working properly? We can look and find out where you're deficient, find out where the problems are, and then work on correcting them. We get a really targeted approach for it, okay? All right, we're gonna move on to fitness, okay? Fitness exercise into your week is what we should call this, because it's an absolute mandate. We're not talking about just building muscles here. There's a lot of big goals that come with a good fitness routine. You wanna build lean, functional muscle. Huge hallmarks of longevity have to do with retaining muscle strength as you age. Some of the biggest studies now that have shown propensity for healthy aging are grip strength and thigh circumference. And that measured over years, the more you keep your grip strength, the more you keep your thigh circumference, it's an increase in all-cause longevity. So like you're less likely to die of all cause of disease, okay?
So thick thighs save lives.
Thick thighs save lives. I love that. That's going on a wall somewhere in here. We need more wall stuff too, I know, it's kind of barren. Okay, so they help resist the effects of aging. We know that more muscles control the hormones that are very aging resistive, that are telling your body essentially, the reason your body doesn't die is because there's things in your body saying, you need to be here. You still need to be here, right? So we know that healthy muscle improves your VO2 max, which is your ability to inspire and get oxygen into your body. Extremely important hallmark for aging, also reducing cancer risk, because a lot of cancers grow in anaerobic, anoxic environments. So if you do not get enough oxygen into your body, increases cancer risk. Heart rate variability, huge hallmark for healthy aging. And strength overall, you want to have good, strong strength so you can open jars and do things you want to do and beat people up. We know that having lean muscle improves your basal metabolic rate. So you're going to be burning more calories at rest with more lean muscle mass. It's a great thing to put on. Delaying aging, reducing the risk of fatal falls and injuries, and just improving your overall resilience. That's the whole goal of building muscles. So muscle strength, definitely more important than muscle mass. It's not about necessarily always the size of your muscles. It's about how healthy they are. So again, eating more protein right away is not going to make your muscles bigger, but it's going to help improve the health of the fibers of the proteins. So they're going to be more able to work for you. Your muscles are an organ. Your muscles are what take in glucose. They're what store glucose, and they're what move glucose through your body. And if you have unhealthy muscles, if they're big and unhealthy even, they're not going to work like they should. So more protein is going to give you that ability, and then working them out and training them and moving them is going to keep them around for a long time, okay? Okay, so there's 3 different types of fitness. My high recommendation is you need to work on incorporating all of these different things into your life. So if people ask me, what is the best workout? Truly speaking, there's not one. There's several, because our body's made to move in different ways, okay? So for starters, you have the aerobic workout. Aerobic meaning you're working out at a low intensity. You can say that I can talk, I can have a conversation with someone. It might be a bit strained, but I can still talk and carry on a conversation. So this type of aerobic activity, the general recommendation is you should have 2 30-minute rounds of this per week. So pick 2 days and put it in your schedule where you're doing some type of aerobic fitness, whether that's walking on a treadmill, walking an incline, light jog, something like that, okay? The other side of that is anaerobic fitness. So this is high intensity fitness where your body can't utilize oxygen for fuel. And so your body starts utilizing glucose for fuel, okay? So you're essentially testing the metal of your muscle's ability to release glucose, and it's called anaerobic fitness. So just the easy term for that is can't talk, busy dying, okay? So I can have a conversation over here. If I can have a conversation when I'm doing this workout, I'm not actually doing the workout. Okay, and this is the tough one. This is the one that people don't want to hear. This is the workout that no one wants to do. It's the workout where you push yourself real hard. but just for you. So don't think about this workout as being, okay, we're doing 40-inch box jumps now. Good luck with your recently rehabbed hip from surgery. That is not what this is. It's meant to be at a high ratio for you, okay? So when I'm working out anaerobically speaking, I'm roughly working out at 80% of my max heart rate, 225 minus your age. So for me, I need to get to, let's just say as a number, 165, okay? I can do that in a lot of different ways. I can do sprints down a track, but I can also just run in place real fast for 15 to 20 seconds and get my heart rate up, okay? I could do air squats. I could shadow box. There's a lot of different ways to get your heart rate up, okay? So that's the main thing that you need to focus on is getting your heart rate up, all right? Really, honestly, what the science shows, one 12 to 30-minute session a week. That's what you need. So you don't have to do this every single day, but one day a week, you've got to push yourself, okay? My general recommendation, anaerobic fitness, set a timer on your phone. There are tons of, does everyone have a smartphone? Does anyone have a dumb phone? Just curious. There are tons of apps that are free that are called Tabata apps, T-A-B-A-T-A, and you just download them. They're free, and literally, it'll give you a 20-second on, 20-second off timer, and just do 20 seconds hard, 20 seconds off, and do that for 8 to 12 rounds. Boom. That's your workout, okay? So real simple to do, but again, that is what's training your cardiovascular system, okay? It's training your anaerobic system. You're gonna burn a lot of carbohydrates when you're doing that workout. After it, you're gonna scavenge free fats in your body to replace the carbohydrate stores. So it's a great way to get your body burning more fat as well. Cool? Last one is strength. So you can't talk about fitness without talking about strength. You do have to work on your muscles to strengthen them, okay? Now I know there's a lot of arguments if you get into like the longevity space on, well, in Sardinia, where it's a blue zone, where people live to 100, there aren't that many gyms. So there are not that many people in there who are 80 and 90 doing curls for the girls, grunting, you know what I mean? However, what I would argue is that if you look at the lifestyle of someone who lives to that age, their entire life is fitness. Have anyone ever been to Sardinia? Seen the hills there? Does anyone ever know what Sardinia is? It's an island off the coast of Italy where more people live to 100 than anywhere else. There's 5 blue zones around the world that has a high concentration of people living that long, and they've studied them. Those people walk to the store up like 1,000 feet of terrain. There's stairs, they're paved, but they're walking there, they're grabbing a 20-pound bag of rice and carrying it in that back, okay? That doesn't have to be a gym. That's a workout. You guys have ever done that before, right? So they're working out, their whole day is activity, okay? So if you don't happen to walk 1,000 feet uphill to the store and buy your groceries and farmers carry them back, you might want to go to the gym, okay? If your job is to work with a computer or to work in customer service or to do something that doesn't involve lifting heavy things and putting them down, you probably need to work your muscles. And the best place to do that is at home at a gym or with weights or with cans of super bags or rest. I don't care what it is, but you got to tell the muscles to work. Okay? So when you're strength training, the simplest way to think about it is just picking up weights and picking them up 10 times and then setting them down and doing 3 sets of that. If that's all you're doing, it really does nothing for you. Okay? So what should you be doing? If you're lifting weights, what should it feel like? Anyone have an idea?
Can't lift it another time.
Yes, it should feel hard. It should feel strained. Not the entire time, but the last 1 to 5 reps should feel very challenging for you. Not challenging for the person next to you, for you. So if you pick it up and you count to 10 and you put them down and you didn't feel any strain, you should pick them up and do a few more. Sorry. Or add more weight, okay? It's not about injuring yourself, but it's about getting to perceived exertion. That perceived exertion, when you're working really hard, that's when your body says, think about it this way. A car falls on you and you're trying to push it off and you're failing. And your body's thinking, if I ever get out of this again, I'm gonna make these muscles stronger so the next time a car falls on me, I don't die. When you're lifting weights and you're telling your body, this is too heavy, I'm failing, your body's gonna respond and make those muscles stronger. Fair? So if you don't ask it, it's not gonna give it to you, okay? No one ever accidentally got too big of muscles. It's never happened in the history of the world. So you gotta ask for it, okay? You gotta break the muscle fibers down, you gotta do it where it's perceived exertion, and then your body gets stronger as a result. Minimum 2 sessions per week. So if you're keeping score at home, it's roughly 4 to 5 days of some type of exercise on a weekly basis. 3 of them involve doing things you might not love doing, which is lifting heavy weights, and getting your heart rate up. The other two are relatively easy. That's the minimum standards, okay? They've done lots of research on this. Best way to reduce your risk for dying of all causes, this type of workout. Combine them all together. We'll talk in a minute about putting them all together. So last thing, so an encouragement for this, a lot of times we talk about fitness and working out and getting back in shape, and the vast majority of our patients who are in our clinic who have issues cite, I can't work out because this doesn't work on my body. My back is bad, my neck is bad, my arm is bad, my hips are bad, my shoulders are bad. I've heard it all, okay? The reality is, if you are starting fitness, if you're starting to work out, having a good core, a good solid foundation is extremely important, okay? When we're talking about the top reasons for disability, 3 out of the top 4 have to do with problems in your spine or in your joints or in your muscles, in your body, right? And so our job in this clinic is also to take care of you guys and make sure you're aligned well. Obviously, you walked in to be aligned, right? That's our whole goal. And so what we understand now is that the reason we're taking care of you guys, some of you guys who have been maintaining your spine in great health for years with us, some of you guys who have never heard it before, the alignment of your spine is really, really vital to being able to work out well, to being able to feel great, to recovering well. Your spine is where your nervous system is. So all the nerves come out through every channel so that your body can function well. If your spine's in a bad alignment, it can make working out really hard. And a lot of times people start workout programs and they're like, gosh, I can't do it. Every time I work out, I hurt my back. And then I'm laid up and then I eat more weight, I eat worse food and I gain more weight, right? And so what we're big on in our office is reversing injuries. We want to make sure that your spine and your body and your core stay healthy for a long time, okay? We know that, for example, the alignment of your neck, which should be curved from the side, should hold your posture upright. If you have a forward shifted neck like this, because you've been at a computer all day, and you go to work out and you start lifting weights like this and curling your neck, it's very likely you're going to injure yourself because your alignment's off. And so we want you to be able to do everything you want to do. If you have issues or problems like this, number one, if you're already a patient, we should know about it. We should be working towards it. We have you guys on an adjustment schedule. We guys have you guys doing your home exercises. We want to see your spine improve in alignment as we take care of you. Sometimes we get started in care in our office and like you're doing everything right, your spine improves. 4 months go in and you're like, hey, my spine's perfect forever. I don't have to do anything again. The reality is the lifestyle we live usually causes problems to return. And so I say this because I have a lot of you guys who've been with me for a long time. Just coming in here and doing like one adjustment and like nothing else for your spine is probably not the best way to do it, okay? We try to do our best diligence by taking annual x-rays on you guys to make sure your spine stays healthy. It's not about the fact that we're adjusting you. The point should be to make you well aligned, if that makes sense, okay? So I would encourage you guys, if you're in a care in our office, make sure you're doing the things at home right. Make sure if we have you on a frequency, you're following it. If you're falling off, don't just say, I'll make it up next year. Like, try to get back on track with it because every adjustment we lose that pushes your posture back, if we're adjusting you once a week or every other week or once a month, it's really hard to gain on that. That's meant to maintain your spine. It's not meant to correct it. So people will miss 12 adjustments a year, 15 adjustments a year. We take x-rays at the end of the year and we're like, hey, your spine got a little bit worse. And they're like, hey, this isn't working. And I'm like, no offense, you're not working, right? Like you got to work the plan. So I use that to encourage you guys. If you're here, let this be your kick in the butt for the new year to get everything on track. Okay, we'll go through scheduling at the end, but that's the big thing. Okay, if you're a guest here, there's a reason we do things a little differently in our office. So our main goal for our office is to align people. My background is in helping scoliosis patients. That's what my postdoctorate training is in. So we now with this new clinic, we take shifted spines like this, and we can truly make them look visually better and prevent surgery in scoliosis patients, especially in kids. It's an awesome thing. And so the reason our office looks different is because we pride ourselves on being able to align your spine better. So if you're a guest here, you've been to a chiropractor before, you might walk into an office, lay down, they might run a massager on you, they might put TENS units on you. Our goal here is not just to rub your butt and tell you you're special, it's to truly align you better. And so there's a reason for the cadence in here. I say that because some of you guys are on maintenance care, you skip them. The reason for warming your spine up, so for spending time doing traction exercises and wobble exercises, is we want to loosen the ligaments and muscles around your spine. If you have bad posture, we are not going to change your posture by having you drive in a car to get here after 8 hours of work, walk into our adjusting bays, lie down, we push on your spine, you get up and leave and go back to your car and then go back and sit on your couch. Like, I'm not magic. You know what I mean? That's not going to work. There's a process. We warm your spine up, we loosen the muscles and ligaments, We adjust your spine to correct the alignment of it. We're moving your spine into a better place. If we took an x-ray on you when you left our rooms, your spine would look visually different when you walk out of that room, okay? To override muscle memory, we're having you use resistive body weights in this room that literally retrain your spine to hold a better alignment. And so this works when you actually work the system properly. So if you guys are patients here and you're skipping your head weights, for example, you're losing a good half of the adjustment. You're losing it. Because if you retrain afterwards, then you hold the adjustment there, you're retraining those muscle fibers, it's gonna last for longer. Versus if you skip that every time, you're gonna keep going back to what you do on a daily basis. And if it's this, or this, you're gonna slowly succumb to this. And this is what we wanna stop from happening. Poor posture increases your risk of death from all causes. It increases your mortality rate by 1.44 times. So people who have a poor posture, their risk of increased death is close to that of someone who smokes a pack of cigarettes a day. The increased mortality risk for someone who's a pack-a-day cigarette smoker is 1.69, or 169% increased odds of dying. Poor posture over the age of 60 is 144, at 1.44. It's right there, okay? So it's really important to keep yourself aligned well. It's not that poor posture, like I said, it's not that it causes cancer, but it means you can't breathe well, you can't move well, you have chronic pain, your cortisol's up, it leads to that degeneration effect, okay? I was gonna put some testimonials in here, but I had a feeling we'd be running late on time, which we are. So feel free, if you guys want to go online and you guys can listen to all the different testimonials we've had. In just the past year, we've had dozens of people with chronic migraines get better. We had a patient come in who was on their way to go get surgery. They were on their way to the emergency room. They had a bad herniated disc in their neck. There's a cool video on here. Their neck was so bad they had pain down both of their arms. In 4 weeks, they were 100% better, never had to get surgery. Really cool stuff. We've had 3 patients who have had chronic seizures in our office this year. We use our focused ultrasound and we've reversed their seizures. Really cool stuff. When you align the spine, you get the nerves working like they should be. We've had 2 patients who are on the brink of having surgery with chronic knee issues. Their pelvises were misaligned. We aligned their pelvis, aligned their knees properly. They still have arthritis in their knees, but no pain. We had a patient fly in from India to do our focused ultrasound who had chronic trigger finger. She hasn't been able to close her hand in 10 years. And with what we do in our office with ultrasound, we can break up the fibrinous adhesions through there and restore proper stem cell production to your body. So your body makes more stem cells. And after 1 treatment, she did this. And she flew back to India. Really cool. We've had 2 patients in our office. We just started opening our scoliosis room. So now with our scoliosis patients, we can actually reduce the curvatures of scoliosis far better than we could before. We have our certification with the Clear Institute pending. So we will be the first in Ohio, the first non-surgical scoliosis reduction institute. So in the next 6 months, we'll have people flying in from all across the US. They'll stay here for a week or 2 and they'll get intensive non-surgical treatment. So for kids who have progressive curves, who might have to have a rod put in their spine, which is life-changing surgery, we're gonna work on turning back the clock on that. And we can reduce people's spines anywhere from 30 to 50% and prevent the need for surgery, which is such a cool thing, okay? Depression, IBS, we had 2 patients with Crohn's disease who are in remission now. So through our metabolics program, we had a 15-year-old kid who came in with Crohn's disease. His inflammatory markers, they were really high. They were 6,000. They should be 200. It's a level called calprotectin. And we took him through our program, and he's 15, he's a track star. He has such an irritable bowel that he can't run track at 15. And so we worked on healing his gut, and his levels went from 6,000 to 250, which puts him technically in remission from Crohn's disease. And we've worked with him for 3 months since then, and he now has levels of 20, which are that of a normal human. And so the doctors won't say it, and we're kind of holding our breath, but the autoimmunity might have completely reversed itself. So like there is a chance to actually heal from autoimmunity if you do the right things, especially if you catch it early and don't live with it for 20 years. His parents were patients of ours and they understood cause-based healthcare. And we got to the very root cause, which was the GI inflammation, and hit it at the core, and he's better. And it's just such a cool thing. So I had some videos, but go watch them. Really cool. Love having you guys part of this office, okay? The long-term outcomes, the reason we're taking care of you guys, the reason we want you to keep your spine healthy for a lifetime. Huge study, they did a meta review of 93 studies. This is in 2024. As a general rule, we understand that people who get adjusted, who have healthily aligned spines, they're at reduced risk for needing prescription medication. So the long-term studies show about 85% less risk for, or less need for medications. Chronically left surgeries, people who are managed by a chiropractor, 40 times lower long-term surgery risk compared with the normal population. The average person in the US, 43% of us will have spinal surgery at some point in our lifetime. That's almost 1 in 2. 1.5% of people who see a chiropractor regularly will have to have spinal surgery. The rate at which it slows spinal decay is incredible. And so if you want to keep your spine healthy long term, you got to work on keeping your spine healthy, okay? It's an absolute mandatory thing if you want to live to 70 to 80 to 90. For most people, our spine fails first, especially with our lifestyle, okay? So keeping moving is important, keeping exercising, also keeping it aligned so you can do those things is important. People long term, 5-year plus, 69% decrease in out-of-pocket healthcare expenditures. So ideally speaking, you keep your body healthier, you don't need to spend as much on your overall health. That's the whole idea of investing in yourself and investing in this whole thing called preventative care, okay? I mentioned focused ultrasound just a little bit, but since some of you guys have never heard of it or seen it before, we do have a focused ultrasound unit in our office. We bought this, we were one of the first people in Columbus to have it. There are 2 surgical centers now that have it, and I think 1 other private practice has it. Focused ultrasound was FDA approved in 2004 for its ability to reverse chronic muscle, ligament, and tendon injuries. So we can essentially use this on injured segments of your body that would not otherwise heal. They've been chronically injured for years, and put your body through a new healing process. So for things like plantar fasciitis, which can be the bottom of your feet that get really irritated, knee and meniscus injuries, chronic hip issues, so like arthritis in the hips. The reason I purchased the machine was at a research seminar. I heard about its ability to actually help with ligament damage in the spine. So I've had several accidents in my life. I'm not a chiropractor, I'm a patient first. I'm a chiropractor second. When I was 16, I got bent in half in football. Someone a little bit bigger than Nick hit me, and it hurt a lot. And my spine was completely shifted. I had a disc injury at 16. I re-herniated it when I was 25. I had just graduated chiropractic school, and I went to a busy office, and I adjusted 100 patients and just dropped to my knees. I ripped my disc, and when I was in private practice here by myself, I would close my office 3 to 4 days a week because my discs would re-herniate. I had no stability in my ligaments, and I couldn't do anything about it other than having surgery, which I would have had to completely close my office for 6 months plus. I would have lost my practice. So I was desperate to find answers. I went and a doctor behind me, I paid $8,000 for multiple stem cell injections per injection. That's not fun. Had PRP injections in my spine. Has anyone ever had an injection in your spine? Does it feel good? It is the worst. Bend it like Beckham, a bent needle 4 inches around my spine to hit the disc, and like I could have chewed through wood. So when this came out and I heard about it, and they're like, this can actually strengthen ligaments and actually heal like chronic scar tissue areas without having to have a needle and tens of thousands of dollars, I was like, oh my gosh. So I went to Florida, I had the treatment done. It was incredible. We now treat more people than anyone else in Ohio for this. We have doctors referring to us. We have people from hospitals coming to us because we charge a third of what hospitals charge. The average price is $600 a treatment in hospitals. So we charge $200 or $180 if you're an active patient or an active patient. But it's absolutely changed my life. My disc herniations were able to heal. I have pre-post MRIs now that although the discs are still herniated, they're so stabilized by the ligaments around it, they can't re-herniate. So I can adjust, I can do stupid things like skiing, down double black diamonds and being an idiot. I can do those things now, which I shouldn't do, but I do every once in a while. Chronic headaches and migraines, people who have chronic injuries through their neck, especially whiplash injuries, who have chronic migraines, we can now stabilize those ligaments where before we'd have to adjust them once a week and they'd still have migraines. They'd be better. Now we can get them almost gone by addressing that area and addressing the underlying ligament instability, which is really cool. It's like we get to do surgery without surgery. Cool stuff. Rotator cuff, tennis elbow, carpal tunnel syndrome. The new thing now is like they don't have to cut you open anymore. We can get the scar tissue out topically for most people and prevent people from having $12,000 carpal tunnel surgeries where you're down for 3 months, all by breaking up the scar tissue with a topical treatment of ultrasound. Really, really cool stuff. So if you guys have questions on this, if you're a patient or if you're a guest, we'll give you a chance to sign up to get assessed. But that's why we use these things. We want to make sure that you guys stay ahead of the game. So everything that we built in this new office, which if you guys have been with us for a long time, this office has only been here for 3 months. This has been our dream for the past 7 years to build a big place that has all the fun things, all the fun tools. It's built for us, but it's for you guys. It's to stay ahead of life and to enjoy it and to have these things you can do that are affordable. We try to make everything in our office affordable so that you can do the multiple things without having to go to do one treatment of shockwave and it's $6,000 versus here it's a third. You know what I mean? Let's talk about putting this 30-day challenge together, okay? This is kind of a summary here, but I think these are all good things. Number one is the difference between goals and systems. We all have goals. We all have aspirations. It's been said by people smarter than me, namely people who write books, which I don't do yet, that you don't fail to the level of your goals. you don't even achieve your goals. You achieve to the level of your systems. So if you don't have systems, especially when it comes to health in the world that we live in, where there are fast food restaurants in every corner, you can enter a grocery store thinking you're buying healthy food and leave with unhealthy food, truly. You've got to have systems. So as we do this, part of what we encourage you guys to do is to educate yourselves, right? There's an excellent book called Atomic Habits if you've never read it. Part of the challenge is 10 minutes or 10 pages of reading on a daily basis. You'll chew through that book. It's a great book on how to not only establish the right habits, but how to keep up with them. Big thing around Atomic Habits, around anything that makes change in life is to fix your mindset. If you want long-term success, you got to work on you. And so I think leaving here, we should all kind of work on one thing to work on developing. And what that one thing is that's going to really propel you through anything is something called an internal why. The Japanese call it an ikigai. It's the reason for which you live. Making changes in your diet sometimes isn't fun. Working out more sometimes isn't fun, right? And if your reasons are small, i.e. if you want to look good in the mirror, or if you just don't want your belly to jiggle when you brush your teeth, I've heard that one before too. If you have small reasons, you're likely not going to achieve your goals. So my big thing for you guys is if you don't already know what it is and have a big why, you need to work on getting one. And I can promise you guys, you all do. You all have something worth living for, worth being around for, that can inspire you and move you to like chew through metal and wood to achieve your goals, especially when it comes to health. So I encourage you guys to harness that. I'll briefly share with you guys my why. Growing up, I had a very unhealthy mother. I lost her when I was 15. We had food scarcity. I grew up in a trailer park in Southeast Texas. We had no money, no food. My parents were highly educated lawyers, but one of them had a lot of mental health issues and the other one had a drug problem. And so growing up, I wanted to be successful more than anything because I didn't like having nothing. And that wasn't a big enough why, so I was selfish and I was maybe not the best person. I worked really hard, but I didn't have good reasons behind it. And then when I went in a chiropractic office when I was 16, I saw people getting helped. I kind of anchored to that. I anchored to helping people. And my why is, it's a really simple thing. I want my kids to grow up in a better community than I was raised in. So that's my why. That's what pushes me. And so if I'm thinking in that sort of type deal, like that I have to help make a change in this community so that our generations of children are happier, it really doesn't matter what I eat for lunch anymore. Like it really, you can put whatever in front of me that's healthy and I'll eat it, right? So my wife's like, you're not picky with food. And I'm like, it doesn't matter anymore, right? So the smaller you think, the bigger those things are gonna matter. The more we tend to think in an idea of like almost like selfishness, well, like I deserve a cake today or whatever it is. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Because I had a hard week or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So I'm just encouraging you guys, get out of that mindset. Try to think for bigger, and we all have the reasons there. You all have family to live for. You guys all have big things to accomplish in this world, and great people like you can do it. So I want you guys to have the best health ever. In order to do that, you've got to have yourself anchored to God and to a big why. And with that, you can do anything. Amen? Cool? Awesome. So that being said then, there's definitely a hierarchy of competence when it comes to implementing this. So if you are a seasoned veteran who's worked on your health and nutrition for a long time, some of these little things might be easier to implement. Some of you guys, this might be your first time where you're lost, you don't know where to go. You may be at what we call the level of unconscious incompetence. Anyone heard of that before? You have no idea how bad you are, is the thing, right? And it's okay to be there. It's okay to be there. Just my recommendation would be when you think about this, recognize where you are. Because if you're at a level of like, gosh, I have no idea how bad I am, I really need help, then please lean on people. Lean on us, use us for help. We'll help walk you through it. The worst thing is when someone has unconscious incompetence and doesn't realize it. They have no idea how bad they are. That's when someone like is just headstrong and dogmatic and like, I can do this, I should be better than this. Making nutritional changes, especially in this world, is really hard. So if you're struggling with where you are, just open up to it and we'll help you through it, okay? You're gonna work through this as you go to where the first step is conscious incompetence. You will realize how incompetent you are. And you'll be thankful for it. You'll be like, oh, I actually see, I'm really bad at this. It means you need help, you need to be walked through this, right? Soon thereafter, you will achieve, if you work on this for a while, 30 days or so, you will achieve something called conscious competence. Anyone heard of that before? You're competent, but only if you're super aware of it and super focused on it. If you do that for long enough, you will become unconsciously competent, and you'll reach the level where it's part of you. Eating healthy, fitness, taking care of your body, working on these things, it's just a part of your life, and it's as simple to you as waking up, going to the bathroom, brushing your teeth, and eating. It's super simple, but it takes time to get to that. So what tends to happen is there's an energy required to get from where you are to where you want to be, and most of us don't want to put in that energy here to live a lifestyle that requires this much energy. And it sounds so stupid, but on the other side of hard work is all this payoff, but we don't want to walk uphill 100 feet to save ourselves 5 miles. So the encouragement is just bite the bullet. It's going to hurt. It's going to be hard. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to get irritated at first, but I'm telling you, working through this, please let us help you guys. It's so much better on the other side. There's nothing that feels as good as knowing inside and out that you're healthy, capable, can do whatever you want to do. I'm telling you, it's the best feeling in the world. So I want to keep encouraging you guys to do that. A great book, Good Energy by Casey Means, kind of walks through a lot of these things, but it's a great thing to know. Last thing, know your numbers. Know where you are. So today we're going to start with some of those tests. Again, we're working with you guys. This isn't just like a one-off talk. This is just on the conversations that happen over the next 1, 2, 3 months with you guys. Know your numbers, know your body fat, know your lean body mass. If you have blood work or haven't gotten blood work done, get it done through us or get it done through your doctor. Let us work on it for you. Look at your blood glucose, look at your hormones, look at your thyroid health, look at your inflammation. Spending some resources on those, I think, is critical, especially if you want to truly be healthy. A couple $100 for lab testing, you get great answers, you have a targeted approach, it makes less guesswork. If you have questions on labs, please talk to me afterwards. We'll help you guys through it. So all about putting these habits together. So as a summary recap, movement habits, okay? These are habits that you just get to your core. You know, ideally speaking, you're engaging in movement 150 minutes a week. Resistance training is happening 2 to 3 times a week. Your goal should be moving. So like one thing we didn't talk about is just living an active lifestyle. You can say 10,000 steps a day, which is roughly 5 miles of movement a day. If you're active, you'll hit that no problem, right? So being active throughout the day, great way to make everything else easier. Do your regularly scheduled adjustments. Make sure that your body on the inside is moving well. Do your specific home care rehabilitation to keep your spine and posture and body in a great alignment. Sleep habits, okay? All this wouldn't work well if you don't sleep well. So if you don't sleep well, start sleeping better. If not, come talk to us. Aim to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Consistent sleep is such good sleep. If you're like sleeping early on the weekdays and then on the weekends, you burn the candle till 2 a.m., it's going to be so hard to catch up and actually help your body get back to where it needs to be. You heal when you sleep, make no mistake. So all the stuff you do during the day does not matter. If you sleep 4.5 hours of uninterrupted sleep a night and you're miserable, it won't work, okay? Meal habits. Plan your food. Something I didn't have time to go over that I would love to spend an hour doing with you guys, and we can do it at a future date, is a war plan. Does anyone know what a war plan is? I've said this before. Does anyone have a war plan? A war plan is your weekly schedule that you fill first with the things that matter most. I can guarantee you that we all spend too much time in here on our phone, on TV, doing menial things that do nothing to push our health forward and our life forward. You have rocks, pebbles, sand, and you got time for a beer at the end, if you've seen the analogy before. If you pour the beer in first, then try to shove the rocks in, you're going to make a mess, okay? If you put the rocks in the jar first, the heavy things, fill it with the pebbles, the sand, you got time for a beer at the end. So not planning is planning to fail. The only way that this works is if you do. So we talked about exercise, we talked about nutrition. You have to, in a physical schedule, I don't care if it's digital or you're writing it down. I prefer writing it down. That last of that generation. I have blocks in my life when I do these things. So it's not hard because I've forced myself to move my schedule so that like Sunday night, I have plans. I have plans every Sunday night. I'm with my family and we're meal prepping. And we do it as a family so my 6 and 8 year old can hopefully make me food at some point in my life. The prayer's out there. But I'm meal prepping all during that time, right? So my wife and I, we make about 6 pounds of meat. We make about 4 pounds of vegetables. We make some rice or some quinoa. And we have like 20 things and just for the week for 3 boys and us. It's a lot, right? But it's done, and now we've done it for the past like 8 months. We've really gotten in a habit with it. Hour and a half, we're done. And we don't have to cook on Monday, on Tuesday, or on Wednesday. And we do meal prepping Thursday morning. So like we get so much time back by just doing that too, where we're not coming home every night and we're like, oh my God, it's 7:30, you open the fridge and you're like, pizza. You know what I mean? So it makes it easier. So if you plan it out, it's easier. Same thing with exercise and workouts. It's booked in your calendar. So like the idea is someone calls you, and this sounds mean, but like someone calls you and says, hey, can you do this? And you look at your calendar and you say, no, I have a dentist appointment. The dentist appointment is your gym. You know what I mean? Like the same way that you would say, I have an appointment here, I have to do this. Like they're largely immovable blocks. And if I move them, I gotta put them somewhere else. So if you do that and you hit it 90%, you're gonna be way, way better ahead than just leaving here thinking, I'm gonna do that, no problem. Like, I got this. You know what I mean? Don't write it down, don't plan for it. You're gonna do it 10%. Like, I'd be shocked if you hit it. You know what I mean? So just plan it out, okay? Meal habits, eat Max Living Advanced Plan or Core. So you guys should have the resources for it. If you don't, we have more resources for it. But plan around those diets, and if you hit it 80, 90%, you're gonna win, okay? Mindful eating. So understanding what proportions you need to eat on a daily basis. I know that's a lot of work, but I think it's really gonna help you guys. So we talked about protein goals and understanding your total daily energy expenditure. If you get that, and you get that set in place, you can do whatever you want to with your body in a matter of weeks to months. So we'll help you guys do that. We'll be happy to. I'll talk about it in a second. Eliminate all the crap from your diet, please, okay? Last thing with light and some temperature things, I just love some of this stuff. Get sun exposure, please, during the day, especially in the morning. If you wanna reset your circadian rhythms and have a balanced cycle, you need sunlight exposure in the morning. So please don't wake up, crawl out of bed, sit inside in a dark room with the TV on. Minimize your blue light exposure. So exposure to screens, it down-regulates melatonin. So if it's hard to sleep at night, you might wanna turn your phone off. Some cool stuff with temperature. We know that there's a lot of research in heat and cold exposure, really helping your body's adaptability, also helping with fat burning. So try to get hot at least a couple hours a week, an hour or two a week, sauna, and then cold exposure. Who loves getting cold? Said no one. Does anyone regularly turn their shower cold? Just curious, just honestly, couple. She's cringe. It's okay. So I would highly encourage you to start with that, okay? What does heat and cold do to your body? It tells your body to adapt. And an adaptable body is a strong body, a body that's never asked to adapt, that sits on a comfy couch, that eats comfort food, that's never stressed. Your great things come out of stressed people and adapted bodies. So by exposing yourself to some heat and some cold, it increases your body's ability to adapt. They've looked at people who do the sauna 40 minutes a week. It's like a 40% lowered risk of heart disease from heat exposure, because your body makes special heat shock proteins that are very anti-inflammatory for your body, right? Just such cool things that are low-hanging fruits in front of us. I think we all have internalized plumbing. Make it cold, okay? Yeah, so you can do it any way you want to. I will do a warm shower, and then I'll do it cold, and then I'm done. Feel free to turn it hot and cold if you want to too. It's really just getting the exposure and building it, and starting with 30 seconds even. But your body burns a lot of fat when it's cold. So I'm telling you, if you've got some stubborn fat on your body, you want to kickstart it, cold shower raises your endorphins better than anything too. You will feel so invigorated when you get out, because truly, I think your body's happy to be alive. It's just happy it didn't die. So it's like, count your blessings, right?
How cold?
As cold as you can go. Last thing, water habit. So on your 30-day challenge, these are all the things that I just talked to. These are all the habits that it's about forming, right? If you leave 30 days and you guys implement 2 to 3 of these habits well, which is like, I'll just tell you the psychology behind it. I give you 7, hoping you do 2 to 3. If you do 2 to 3 and they stick, and then 6 months from now we do another one of these talks, another 2 to 3 stick, I'm telling you, a year or 2 from now, you will not recognize yourself, right? But just get with them. So water habit. So drink clean water, right? Eliminate tap water. Get a filter, please. Plastics, please don't drink water out of plastics. When we do metabolic testing on people, we see phthalates everywhere. If you guys saw the 2024 study that came out, 9% of our brain mass, do you see this? 9% of our brain mass on average is plastics, microplastics, 9%. That is a lot of our brain. We don't know exactly the long-term ramifications of it, but I think our bodies are better without plastic in it. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. And we currently, there are a lot of companies that are researching how to remove plastics from the body. We don't actually have anything yet, just so you guys know. They will probably be out in the next 5 to 6 to 7 years, but I just don't think plastics are good in the body long term. And the last thing is environmental. Overhaul your personal care products, your cleaners, et cetera, at home. We had doTERRA out here, like clean products is what you guys want to go with. There's tons of apps now where you can scan things in the store, make sure you're getting healthier products. Get outside, get in nature. It's one of the best remedies for it overall, okay? So with the 30-day challenge, there's 2 ways to do it. You can on your own say, I'm gonna do these things, I'm gonna rock them out. More power to you. If you guys want help doing it, if you guys wanna work through it with us, normally when I sit down with someone and we set up a 30-day challenge for them, we charge $75. That's to get their weigh in, look at their body fat, their lean muscle mass, get an understanding of what their total daily energy expenditure is, and then formulate a protocol with meal plans, with meal plan ideas, with total caloric consumption that you guys follow. So what we decided to do for this talk is it's normally 75, we're doing it for 49. This is implementation now. So it doesn't start next week, it starts now. And we're gonna get to work on creating these protocols for you guys, okay? So you'll leave and you'll be like, okay, I know exactly I need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, okay? If you guys have questions through, any of the things we can help you with them, but this should be pretty self-explanatory, okay? And then if you're joining the challenge, we have a private Facebook group we'll invite you guys to. So I'll be doing videos in there, motivational stuff. We'll do a check-in halfway through and then a final weigh-in as well. So we'll make sure you guys are getting to where you guys need to be. So we do have a bundle. So anytime we do seminars, we do discounts on our products because you're learning about them. We want to make it easy for you guys to get them. We do have a bundle that is our, one sec guys, real quick. We have a bundle that's our protein, our metabolic burn, which is a specific formula designed to help increase your body's ability to burn fat. It also helps with insulin sensitivity, and it helps with hunger and cravings. It's an awesome product we've used for the last 3 years, so that if you really want to support yourself in reconditioning your body, helping to burn fat, helping to kind of stave off the hunger cravings in the beginning, as you start changing around your diet, it's a great thing to use. We do a bundle that's the protein, our max greens, and the metabolic burn that's 15% off. And it's sitting right in your guys' packet. You can kind of circle it. Let us know which ones you like and pick them up at the front, okay? For the last things I wanted to talk about, we have a lot of events coming up. So we have yoga in our office on Saturdays. We have our Beyond the Page workshop. It's not every Saturday, but it's going to be getting more often. The first couple we're doing once a month, but then we're going to go to every other week and then eventually weekly, depending on engagement, but they've been great so far. Everyone's loved them. Zaria is certified in yoga, and she does an awesome job with it. And she's big on posture and ergonomics, so I love it, okay? That's everything I got for you guys. I'll be up here to answer questions. Hey guys, real quick, give yourself a round of applause. Thank you.